안녕하세요. 로스앤젤레스한인회 회장 제임스입니다. 여러분들 집에 인터넷 많이 쓰시죠? 드라마도 보고 유튜브도 보실 텐데요. 우리 생활에서 인터넷은 이제 필수가 됐습니다. 하지만 인터넷 비용 부담되신 적 다들 있으시죠? 30불, 매월 30불씩 인터넷 요금을 할인해주는 프로그램이 있습니다. Affordable Connectivity 프로그램은 저소득층 가족에게 매월 30불의 할인 혜택을 제공하고 있습니다. 거의 무료 또는 저렴한 비용으로 인터넷을 이용할 수 있어 요즘 같은 시기에 여러분 살림에 큰 도움이 될 것입니다. 신청을 원하시면 LA하인회로 지금 연락 주시기 바랍니다.
Hi, I'm Alan.
I'm Jenny.
I'm Brandon.
And I'm James.
And we are
Chingoo Chat.
Awesome. All right. Welcome back to episode 5, guys. We hope you had a great holiday season, Christmas and New Year's included. Basically, I hope you guys had an awesome New Year's. We're able to get a lot of rest over the season and are ready to start the New Year strong. Yeah.
Speaking of which, what did you guys do for Christmas and New Year's? I think you guys went and did something without me.
Yeah, so Jenny, Chloe, and I, and a couple other friends, we went to Big Bear.
It wasn't just a couple other friends. There was like 9 of you guys. Don't lie to me.
Yeah, there were 9 of us. Yeah, it got kind of big, but it was a fun snowboard trip. So
Where'd you guys go? Big Bear?
yeah,
Yeah. Did anybody like eat it really bad? Any bruised wrists or buttocks?
A lot of bruises.
a lot of bruises.
Okay. Was anybody's first time boarding?
It's a lot.
Oh, it was your first time
A
boarding?
lot of people.
Me and my friends.
Oh
yeah.
my.
Yeah.
So you must have gotten a lot of bruises then, because first time boarding for me, like which was like 20 years ago, no more than 20 years ago, was really bad. My friends pretty much took me up to the Black Diamonds and like literally left me there, and I was caught in like a blizzard, and I barely made it down.
A blizzard?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
No, Jenny was pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, for her first time, she did pretty well.
Jenny looks kind of like a non-sport. I'm kind of surprised that she did well for her first time.
Oh my gosh.
Anyways, what are we talking about today?
Yeah, so today we're gonna be talking about Korean American Day because that's coming up, right?
Yes, it is.
Actually in 3 days, which is this Saturday, which is the 13th.
Correct.
So, yeah, we're basically just going to be covering Korean American Day, its history, significant like things about it, just so you guys can know a little bit more about this significant day.
Sure.
Yeah. So basically, just an overview. Korean American Day is pretty much a celebratory day. That commemorates the arrival of the first Korean immigrants to the United States. This is back in 1903. And so this is pretty significant because it does cover a lot of like the origin of how Korean Americans first started and immigrated to the States. Right?
Yeah.
So Jenny, can you give us a little bit some background, some history into this
Yeah.
day?
So in 1882, the United States and Korea signed a treaty, basically establishing a peaceful relationship, friendship, and commerce. And while this led to Korean diplomats, students, politicians, and businessmen visiting the United States, a few felt compelled to stay. But it wasn't until December of 1902 on the SS Gaelic that 102 Korean immigrants set sail for Honolulu, Hawaii. And these families initiated the first wave of Korean immigration, resulting in over 7,500 immigrants over the next 2 years. And during this time, they served their communities and their country during World Wars II and I and the Korean War. And during this time, more Koreans decided to immigrate from their homeland, some as wives to U.S. servicemen, others adopted as children.
So yeah, I mean, I don't know if you guys all know this, but Koreans, when they first arrived here 120 years ago, they didn't come to LA. So the first place they came to was Hawaii, and that was to work on the sugarcane plantations. Messages were being sent to Korea of, we need laborers, pretty much farm laborers, to come and work on all these sugarcane plantations. So a lot of people came. Let's see, 102 originally came, and I think the working conditions were really harsh. I think a lot of the people that came over were working over 10 hours a day. And I think they were making like 60 cents a day or something. And granted, this was the early 1900s. So with, considering inflation and all of that, cost of living, to us, it might seem like a little compared to what's our minimum wage? Like $16 and some change, right? But even for 1903, it was still a very unlivable, low-paying wages with really harsh conditions and long working hours. And then, now that all these men are arriving, these people want to get married, right?
Yeah.
So, but there were not that many women. So what I learned was that, they would send pictures of these men, right, to Korea. And then these mail order brides started coming in to Hawaii, meeting up with these men. But, all these women, from Korea were thinking, oh, I'm going to go to the United States. I'm going to live a new life. Really good-looking young men. And then when they got there, like these old, beat-up, like, ajashis and harabajis. So I heard there was a lot of disappointment. And these girls would come over really young, like in their young teen years. And they would be forced to, like, marry some of these men. And, so there was kind of that dark side of early immigration, too.
Wow. Yeah, I definitely didn't know that like the first location for Korean immigrants was Hawaii. Yeah. That's very interesting. Is there a big Korean American population in Hawaii?
There is. I don't know what the exact number is, but on the main island, Oahu, there's a pretty decent population. I mean, most of you guys are familiar with the Maui Lahaina fires earlier last year. And, KAFLA, we actually had a fundraising, we organized a fundraiser, and I think we sent over about $25,000. But just in Maui, and Maui is not on the mainland. That's another separate, smaller island. Just there's a decent population of Korean Americans who live and also do business in Maui. They own a lot of the souvenir shops along the coastal region. And then Oahu, Honolulu, there's also a very large Korean American population.
Wow.
And to this very day, there's a school which was the first, I believe, Korean language school that was established in Hawaii, on Honolulu. And there's a big plaque in front of that school that marks, like, the first Korean language school. So definitely a lot of Korean American history in Hawaii.
Okay, that's cool. So I hear the name An Chang-ho a lot, especially regarding our history. He seems like a pretty important figure. James, do you know about this person, and can you tell us a little bit about like what he contributed?
Yeah, so we often refer to 도산 안창호 as 선생님, which literally means teacher in the Korean language. And him and his wife were the first Koreans to legally immigrate to the United States as a married couple. He's recognized for establishing, he's most prominently known for his work in fighting against the Japanese government for Japanese colonialism, and he's basically fought for Korean independence from Japan. There are hundreds of people who actually fought for Korean independence. And Brandon, in a previous episode, you had mentioned that your great-great-grandfather was a freedom fighter. For those people who either helped raise money or actually basically plotted to gain independence from Japan, they're all considered freedom fighters. And so even though early immigration started in Honolulu, that kind of spread to Los Angeles, to San Francisco, different parts of the United States. But a lot of the money that was raised to contribute to the fight that was happening overseas was gathered a lot in Los Angeles. And 도산 안창호 was one of the most prominent figures in Korean history that contributed to that. He founded, the Young Korean Academy in San Francisco in 1913. And it also says that he was a key founding member of the provisional government, which was established in Shanghai, China in 1919. And notably, he's one of two men believed to have written the original lyrics of the South Korean national anthem, 애국가. So in Los Angeles, he's commemorated in several different ways. We used to have a post office here on 6th and Harvard Avenue in Koreatown called the Dosan Anchangeo Post Office. And then there's also a Dosan Anchangeo Memorial Freeway interchange right where the 10 freeway and the 110 meet. So if you guys are driving in or around Koreatown, you'll see that name a lot. The post office on 6th and Harvard was demolished to build an apartment. And so KAFLA is actually actively lobbying our local congress member to rename the new post office, which is now on 6th and Mariposa, to rename it the Dosan Anchangeo Post Office.
Brandon, could you tell us a little bit about the political impacts of Korean American Day and some of the importance of it? Yeah.
Yeah, totally. So back in 2003, President George W. Bush pretty much like proclaimed a celebration of Korean American Day as because it would be celebrated as the 100th anniversary of the arrival of first Korean immigrants. And in 2005, the U.S. House and the Senate passed resolutions consenting like the support of creating such a day. And since then, like they kind of like acknowledged Korean American immigrants and how we were kind of like a minority, but now we're getting some sort of like attention. And I think that it was great that we started that. And since then, states across the country have passed bills declaring January 13th as the official annual celebration of Korean American Day.
Yeah, so Korean American Day this year is this coming Saturday.
Yeah.
However, the city of Los Angeles has also been celebrating Korean American Day. And Friday, this coming Friday, which I believe our episode will be airing.
Friday, yeah.
We're recording today on Wednesday, but we'll be airing it on Friday. And for those of you who are watching, we probably just came back from City Hall, the City Hall of Los Angeles, after commemorating, this day. So basically, annually, and this was mentioned in a previous episode too, but for the city of Los Angeles, we have a current sitting city council member who's Korean American. His name's Councilmember John Lee. He oversees District 12, which is in the San Fernando Valley, Porter Ranch, Granada Hills, Chatsworth, Van Nuys, not Van Nuys, but so he'll be kind of leading a congregation of community leaders and other city council members, and we'll be doing a presentation at City Hall, and that's going to take place this Friday, the 12th, at around 10 a.m. And this year is going to be kind of special because we actually have, because of CES, the tech show in Vegas, a lot of people are coming from Korea. So the mayor of a couple different cities in Korea will also be joining us at City Hall for that presentation. So it should be a pretty special day on Friday. Hopefully I can take some pictures and video and share it with you guys of what the presentation looks like and possibly show it right here, right now.
Yeah. I think that'd be pretty cool for everyone to get a little insight onto like how that looks. Yeah, the kind of event looks like. So do you guys have any specific books or TV shows or movies that kind of reflects or speaks to the Korean American immigration experience?
Isn't Minari the most famous one?
Minari, I think, is one out of the most recent movies. Minari is starring Steven Yeun, who actually just won a Golden Globe the other day. Yoon Ha-jung. What's the harmony's name from Minari? I totally forget. Ha Yeon-jung. Sorry, Harmony. I actually ran into her. I actually ran into her at LAX last October. So
famous.
I know you're watching this, so I apologize. But it's pretty much a movie about not early Korean American immigration, like in the sense that it's early 1900s, but I think they came over like in the 80s, which is when a large wave of Korean immigration started to happen to the United States. My parents came here in 1979, and I know some of the earlier ones came in the early to mid 60s. But basically, they go to the Midwest, and I forgot what state they end up going to. But it's like Middle America, farm country. You know, they both get jobs. I guess it's called sexing, like baby chicks, determining whether male or female, and then like kind of you know, dividing them into ones that breed and ones that don't. And basically, it's a story about them coming to pursue the American dream. They come and I think I kind of went in and out of a nap while I was watching that movie, so I don't understand the whole plot. But basically, I remember a scene where Stephen Yeun is touching the ground, like soaking up the soil in the fields with his hands, and telling his wife, like, "This is American soil. We're gonna make so much money off it," assuming that they're gonna like farm on it. I think, right? So, you know, for people who came to LA, who immigrated to Los Angeles, their story might be a little bit different. But at the end of the day, I think a lot of people, when they first came, you know, they didn't know the language. They barely came with any money. Some of them were skilled, some of them were not. But my parents, when they first came in 1979. My dad, I think his first job was like pumping gas at a gas station when we actually used to still pump gas.
Yeah, they do the service.
Yeah, you youngsters might not know, but there used to be something called full service and self-service. Self-service, you would drive up to the pump and you would pump your own gas.
Yeah.
Full service, the gas station attendant would come, ask you how much, and then you would give them the cash, and then they would fill in your tank up to that amount. So my dad, I think, started like that. My mom used to work at a hat factory, sewing like those little buttons on top of the baseball caps. And then, you know, they held a lot of odd jobs here and there. And then, you know, like many other Korean Americans, they saved up enough to open a small business. And, you know, that's why you see the Korean American community in the United States now, I'd say a good majority of them are small business owners, right? A lot of people in like the dry cleaning industry, a lot of folks own like grocery stores, liquor stores. And I mean, fried chicken. There, I mean, I don't think there's any industry where there aren't Koreans, right? I mean, we've taken, I don't want to say we took over, but we see, you know, people in pop culture, you know, K-pop, the cinema industry. I mean, some of the best TV series and movies on Netflix are basically made in Korea. Squid Game. But not only, you know, Korean contribution, but Korean American contribution too. We have several elected officials, as mentioned earlier. You know, we have very powerful, high-ranking people in, you know, different private companies, Fortune 500 companies. So, I think it's a really good time to be Korean American. You know, we've seen a very rich history filled with really good things and some tragic events as well as, you know, and, you know, maybe we can kind of talk about this in a future episode, but 1992 LA riots was a huge event in Korean American history, and how that kind of shaped what civic engagement and representation looks like in the Korean American community. But yeah, I think generally speaking, I think Korean Americans have not only contributed to a lot to mainstream America, but we've been through a lot. You know, and I think we all owe a lot of that to the first generation. You know, people like our parents and our grandparents who came here early, you know, faced the racial discrimination, faced that glass ceiling, and then eventually broke through it. And, you know, now we're second, third generation Korean Americans sitting here. Some of us are bilingual, you know, not having to worry about what we need to eat, you know, and stuff like that. Because Korea and our parents did not live in the same environment and the same culture that we did. Right? I think we're very privileged in that sense. So, I think Korean American Day is important because just once a year the community comes together and kind of just reminisces about that, how we all came to be, how LA, how Koreatown became like the epicenter of like the Los Angeles economy, right? So yeah, just something to consider. Once a year, January 13th, every year.
I just want to go back to what James Hojanim was talking about, and it was just like, you know, acknowledging that our pretty much like our forefathers in Los Angeles came and like set down the basic, like, you know, how everything should be like. And I think honoring those individuals that were here and came before us, I think is such a great opportunity to have on Korean American Day. And I think we should always go back and just give thanks that to be, you know, in this situation at this time, not before or not later, but right now. I feel like we should always have some sort of like thankfulness, like a kind or like some sort of gratefulness that we weren't here when LA or Korean Americans first came, and we're not the last. You know, we're
Right.
still trying to grow it.
Right.
Right.
So I think it's something we should, you know, keep in mind.
Yeah, definitely. Do you guys know of any ways that people can, if they want to get more involved, especially within Korean American Day, something that they can do to maybe like learn more about it or become more involved within the community?
I'd say first learn the history. You know, we talk about Korean history a lot, and you know, learning about what the DMZ is, and you know what North Korea is, what South Korea is, why there's a North and why there's a South. It used to be one country at one point. You know, learning about Seungman Lee, Ri, I should say. And you know, before I got into this line of work, honestly, I didn't know that much about Korean history or Korean American history either. But you know, we live in an age where the internet is so accessible, right? And you know, we have ChatGPT now, and you know, a simple Google search will put you into that rabbit hole of like, I fell into the Wikipedia rabbit hole. You know, I've been doing so a lot lately, just because it's you want to learn, right? To be, you know, because every 4 years, what do we have? We have the World Cup, right?
Yeah.
And as Korean Americans, and I can't speak for everybody here, but when I see Team Korea playing, even though I was never born in Korea, I never lived in Korea, for some reason you have this emotional tie with that country. So whenever you see those Korean soccer players coming out wearing their Red Devil jerseys, for some reason you want them to win, right?
Yeah.
It's a really weird thing. Maybe it's because we grew up eating kimchi and stuff like that. I don't know what it is. But you know, a simple search of Korean American Day will, I think, be sufficient. It'll teach you, and then you know, it'll link you to other articles about, you know, 도산 안창호, and you know, Seungman Ri, Philip Chason, and like all the different freedom fighters that were here. So yeah, I think learning about Korean history is really important. But you know, being Korean American in LA, you know, our history is already 120 years. There's already so much history that's been written into the history books for you guys to pick up. So a simple Google search on those keywords like Korean American Day, Korean American Korean Independence Day, March 1st, Independence Movement, Independence Day, which is August 15th, 3.1절, which is Korean Independence Movement Day, is March 1st. So just researching all these things and learning and absorbing that information, I think will give you a new perspective on just your Korean American identity. Like it'll give you a better perspective, like how we got here and what had to take place, you know, and what sacrifices had to be made so that we live in Los Angeles, you know, as freely as we do now, free of discrimination to a certain extent. Yeah, Asian hate still exists, and a lot of bad things happen to a lot of good people. But if we're to imagine what it was like back in 1903 when they first came here, when immigrants first came here, not only just Koreans, but Chinese Americans, Japanese internment, Chinese Exclusion Act, all these things. Like, there's so much to learn about. Yes, we live in a world where, you know, we're at liberty to do whatever we choose to do and live kind of like other not Native Americans, but white Americans. But it wasn't always like that. And so, you know, going back to kind of what Brandon was saying, what steps were made to establish this foundation, and what made it possible for us to live in a society, you know, in a neighborhood called Koreatown. Can you imagine 120 years when 도산 안창호 first stepped on this land, that he thought, oh, a large, you know, 5 square mile radius area in the epicenter of Los Angeles would be called Koreatown one day? I'm sure they would have never even imagined
they wouldn't
that.
even imagine it. Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's the first step to kind of partaking in Korean American Day, is to learn about the history. and then everything else will follow after that.
Yeah. Thank you. I think that's a really good point. Just learning more, like in terms of what like, as you said, what came before, and just being appreciative, right, of everything that our ancestors have sacrificed for us. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Well, so today was a little bit different. We're more history oriented and more information based. So leave a comment below. Tell us if you guys liked it, or if you guys liked our previous episode style more, or if you want something entirely different. We'll see what we can do. Yeah.
No, we don't really care what you guys say. Just kidding. Now we'll take the feedback, but you know, being a podcast that originates from the Korean American Federation of Los Angeles, I want us to have fun, and I want our viewers to have fun as well. But I think at the end of the day, when, you know, without being cliche about it, like knowledge is definitely power. And I think it's kind of, it would be nice if we can, you know, be entertaining, but be also educational at the same time. Because when I grew up, you know, going to high school here, and I'm sure even when you guys were in school, we didn't learn about Korean history. Definitely didn't learn about Korean American history.
Yeah.
So, but it's very intriguing. Very intriguing when you start learning. I mean, we have a small museum in Koreatown, Los Angeles on Jefferson Boulevard, right? It's called the 대한인 국민회, which is called the Korean National Association, which is actually one of the organizations that Tosan An founded, right? So, you know, they have a huge exhibit on the timeline of, you know, from 1903 until current, as to what Korean American history looks like, not just Korean history. So, you know, hopefully we can dedicate another episode in the future to expanding more on what that looks like. Because if you don't learn it, if you don't take the initiative to learn it on your own, you never will. Because it's unfortunately for now, it's not in our school curriculum just yet. And there are a lot of Korean American leaders and organizations that are fighting to include Korean American history into our textbooks. It just hasn't happened like full-fledged yet. So we'll see how that goes. Yeah. Thanks for watching, guys. Another episode. And we'll be back next Friday. Do we know what we're going to talk about next week? Not just yet,
Not
right?
yet. We'll figure it out.
It'll be something fun. I promise.
Thank you guys for tuning in. We are...
And you're watching Chingoo Chat. Bye.